25 mind-blowing facts about history you never knew. Welcome to a journey through time like no other. Get ready to be amazed as we uncover some of the most bizarre, fascinating, and downright unbelievable facts from history. From ancient mysteries to unusual modern-day events, these 25 facts will leave you laughing, scratching your head, or simply in awe. Let's get right into it. You've probably heard a lot about Napoleon's battles, but did you know he lost one against bunnies? While celebrating a successful campaign, he organized a rabbit hunt. Unfortunately, the groundskeeper released thousands of bunnies instead of just a few. The fluffy army attacked Napoleon and his men, forcing the famous general to flee. Imagine losing to an adorable swarm like that. Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt, lived closer in time to the launch of the iPhone than to the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The pyramids were built around 2500 BCE, while Cleopatra reigned in the 1st century BCE. If that doesn't make history feel closer, I don't know what will. In 1932, Australia fought a war against emus. These large, flightless birds were damaging crops, and the government sent soldiers armed with machine guns to take them down. Spoiler alert, the emus won. They outmaneuvered the troops, and the war was eventually abandoned. Who knew emus were tactical geniuses? Benjamin Franklin wasn't just a founding father. He was also an inventor. One of his creations was the glass harmonica, a musical instrument that produced ghostly sounds. It was said that people who played or listened to it too often were overcome with sadness or madness, not exactly the feel-good instrument of the year. When potatoes first arrived in Europe, many people refused to eat them because they thought they were poisonous. In France, King Louis XV and Queen Marie Antoinette helped popularize potatoes with a royal PR campaign. They wore potato flowers as accessories, and soon the humble spud became a sought-after crop. In movies, the signing of the Declaration of Independence is often shown as a dramatic, unified event. In reality, it wasn't signed all at once, but over several weeks. Some delegates didn't even show up to sign it. So much for the dramatic handshakes and wrist-flicking penmanship we've been led to imagine. This is one of the strangest events in history. In 1518, dozens of people in Strasbourg, now in France, began dancing uncontrollably in the streets. What started as a few people rapidly escalated, with many dancing themselves to exhaustion and even death. Talk about dancing fever! Long before modern rap battles, Vikings practiced something called flyting, a poetic exchange of insults. Competitors would compose elaborate verses to creatively humiliate their opponent. Basically, the Vikings combined lyrical creativity and trash-talking into pure entertainment. In the early 1900s, parents in the US could mail their children via the postal service. No, really. Children were listed as packages, and stamps were attached to their clothing. They traveled with mail carriers to their destination. The practice was quickly outlawed, but imagine the logistics if it hadn't been. Many people blame the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 on Mrs. O'Leary's cow, claiming it knocked over a lantern in her barn. However, there's no solid evidence of this. The actual cause may remain a mystery, but Mrs. O'Leary's poor cow got the blame anyway. After the founding of Israel in 1948, Albert Einstein was offered the presidency of the new nation. Although flattered, he declined, stating he lacked the skills and experience for such a role. Imagine having one of the greatest minds in history running a country. Before rising to power, Julius Caesar was kidnapped by pirates. While a prisoner, he insisted they increase his ransom because he thought they undervalued him. Caesar was eventually freed, and instead of letting it slide, he hunted down and executed his captors. Talk about revenge served cold. In medieval Europe, some battles included trained bears fighting alongside soldiers. These bizarre bear warriors were part of staged combat and entertainment. It's hard to imagine squaring off against a knight and a bear at the same time. The Eiffel Tower has had many different colors over the years: red, yellow, bronze, and more. It's currently repainted every 7 years to maintain its iconic look, and even today, there's constant debate over what its color should be. In 1814, a huge vat of beer exploded at a brewery in London, releasing over 1.4 million litres of beer. The resulting beer tsunami tore through the streets, flooding homes and causing fatalities. Imagine living in a city where the very idea of drowning in beer was real. Genghis Khan, the famous Mongol conqueror, has left an unlikely legacy: DNA. Genetic studies suggest that about 16 million men in Asia today are his direct descendants. That's a lot of family reunions. Andrew Jackson's funeral was memorable for all the wrong reasons. His pet parrot had learned to swear during Jackson's lifetime and interrupted the service with an impressive and inappropriate vocabulary. Sometimes it's better to leave the pets at home. The Mongol capital of Karakoram was ahead of its time, boasting an incredible fountain that dispensed different drinks, including wine and fermented mare's milk. The ultimate party feature in the 13th century. The oldest recorded joke comes from ancient Sumer around 1900 BCE. Believe it or not, it's a fart joke. It goes something like this: "What has never happened since time immemorial? A young wife not farting in her husband's lap." Apparently, humor really is timeless. The famous Leaning Tower of Pisa has been tilting for centuries. Engineers finally stabilized it in the 1990s, but they left the tilt on purpose. After all, who would go see the perfectly straight Tower of Pisa? During World War II, British intelligence officers jokingly claimed penguins in Antarctica might be used as spies. It may not have been serious, but the idea of espionage penguins is both ridiculous and adorable. When King Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered in 1922, stories of a curse that harmed those involved captured the public's imagination. In truth, most of the archaeologists lived long, full lives, but the myth makes for a great spooky tale. Did you know there's a secret apartment at the top of the Eiffel Tower? Gustav Eiffel, the tower's designer, built it for personal use and even hosted VIP guests like Thomas Edison there. Talk about a room with a view. During World War II, prisoners of war made daring escapes with ingenious methods, including inflatable boats. This great escape, inspired by teamwork and creativity, remains one of history's most thrilling tales. Here's a mind-bender to wrap things up. We are closer in time to the last dinosaurs, 65 million years ago, than dinosaurs were to the first sharks, 400 million years ago. History's timeline is as strange and fascinating as the events themselves. And there you have it, 25 mind-blowing facts that prove history isn't just about wars and politics, it's also brimming with bizarre, hilarious, and thought-provoking moments. Which fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your fellow history lovers, because as we've just seen, the past is full of surprises waiting to be discovered. See you next time.